Hey guys, it's Orlando from Wildflower Leather. Hope you guys are doing well. This week we're going to have a little inside look on how I make the AirPods Pro 3 case. So I've been making these cases ever since the first generation came out. I'll post a picture here of the very first AirPods Pro case that I made, which I actually used to launch my Etsy shop with back in 2019 or 2020, I believe. The design has remained the same in its core. The AirPods first generation, then the second, and then the AirPods Pro 2 and 3. It's just the case size that's changed, so I've adapted the design just to the newer case sizes. So this design is true and tested for all the generations of the AirPods, and people like the design. And, my wife would say it looks like a tiny little purse. Some people really do like to attach it to their keys or their backpacks. How would you carry this? Would you attach it to your car keys or to a backpack, or just carry it around? Let me know. I've also offered it without the keychain. Some people have asked for that option to remove it, where I guess they just carry it in their pocket. I know some of the feedback that I received over the years is that the metal snap, which I'm installing here, rubs with the case. And as many of you know, if you have an Apple iPhone or anything that's Apple, it scratches pretty easily, especially their glossy finishes like on their AirTags or on these eggshell cases for the AirPods. So the feedback has been that the brass, the hardware on the inside does rub and tends to scratch it. I've tried to create solutions for it by adding a little piece of leather on the back. I don't do that for everyone, but if that's something you like, that's something that I can do. So out of making this case, this is probably the most challenging part for me, is folding these edges. So I'm not just folding it once, but I'm folding it twice. So I'm using this tool to kind of help pressure it down. I could wet it to make the leather a little bit more pliable, but I don't want to do that. I just don't want to mess up that finish from the brown harness leather that it comes from the tannery. So I'm very careful on this step. I need the glue to get very sticky, so I do have to wait a couple minutes or use a heat gun. And then I glue the edges and put the edges together and firmly press. And then right after that, I'll start saddle stitching. This one's by hand. I won't use the stitching pony because it'd be pretty difficult. I'd probably crease the leather or mark it in a way. And at the very top, I like to do a double stitch to add that extra reinforcement, since if you're carrying your AirPods, you're opening this day in, day out, and I feel like that's just a bit of a stress point. Well, this case is pretty much almost wrapped up. The last step that I do is that I do insert my own AirPods Pro case in here, and just because the leather varies from side to side or hide to hide on the thickness, I like to mark out and kind of wedge out where that last glove snap is going to be, and then manually punch that hole versus having it cut out through the laser. That way, there's a nice, good fit and finish, when you actually put on that snap and close the case. Well, this case is pretty much wrapped up, guys. If you made it so far into the video, thank you so much. Please subscribe if you haven't. And I hope you guys didn't mind my wife and my little one just yapping away. They were having their own conversation as I was making this. But I'll catch you guys next week. Peace.